Shouldn't online platforms be legally liable for what appears on their platforms, similar to a newspaper or broadcaster? Some commentators have likened online platforms to a digital variation of a traditional newspaper or broadcaster, and thus have called for them to be legally liable for content on their platforms, requiring vetting by editors in the same way as traditional media. Given that the vast majority of content on Facebook is communication from individual to individual, online platforms like Facebook are actually more like virtual extensions of real-world communications and speech between people than traditional newspapers or broadcasters. Treating Facebook, or for that matter, any other social media platform, as a digital variant of news publishers requiring oversight by editors means that all content should be reviewed and approved by these editors before anything gets posted. Aside from the practical challenges that this would entail, it is not something that we think is appropriate for Facebook to be doing. From the beginning, Facebook has been about giving people voice, and we think people should be allowed to communicate and share information freely with each other without being reviewed and approved by Facebook or some other intermediary, and I think most people would agree with that. The idea that individuals should be able to post and communicate freely online is a cornerstone of good internet policy, ranking right up there with net neutrality. As University of Ottawa professor Michael Geist has noted, many experts believe that intermediary liability protections may be, and I quote, the single most important legal protection for free speech on the internet, end quote. The Oxford scholar Timothy Garton Ash, in his recent book, Free Speech, 10 Principles for a Connected World, called this policy, quote, crucial to global internet freedom, end quote. Treating internet platforms interchangeably with newspapers and broadcasters that impose legal liability and require them to have the same level of editorial control would run counter to this policy of intermediary liability protection. Now, of course, while Facebook is a platform that gives people voice, we understand that there must and should be limits to what is permissible. And I will now turn to those constraints. So the third question, is the content that I see on Facebook really beyond the reach of rules and laws, as has been asserted? Those who argue for editorial control over speech online tend to also make the charge that global internet platforms are beyond the reach of rules and laws. I want to clarify Facebook's position here. We have a responsibility for what appears on our platform, and that's why we have strict rules in place and why we adhere to local laws. Content on Facebook is governed by our global community standards, which spell out in great detail what is allowed and not allowed on the platform. Things like hate speech, fake accounts, pornography, bullying, the glorification of terrorist activity, and non-consensual intimate images all violate our community standards. And if they are reported to us by people, or if we discover them through our automated systems, we will remove them from our platform. To just take one example, terrorism-related content. In the first quarter of 2018, we took action on 1.9 million pieces of ISIS and Al-Qaeda content, about twice as much than from the previous quarter. 99% of this content we took action on through our artificial intelligence system before a user reported it. Not after, before. And the median time on platform for newly uploaded content was less than 1 minute. Over and above our community standards, we respect local laws and will comply with requests from lawful authorities. My wife and I, as I mentioned earlier, just had a third baby. So I will give you an example that is highly relevant to us right now. Some of you may remember the existence of baby walkers, basically bouncy chairs on wheels for babies and toddlers who cannot walk yet, right? It allows them to be autonomously mobile, which actually does sound kind of scary. Now, due to safety concerns about baby walkers, Canada is now the first country in the world to ban this product under the Canada Consumer Product Safety Act. And as it turns out, they're not banned in the US, by the way. So as it turns out, from time to time, posts of used baby walkers for sale do appear on Facebook. And we are contacted by Health Canada officials and asked to remove the content. We comply with this lawful request under the Canada Consumer Product Safety Act. Beyond our community standards and local laws, we are constantly seeking to better understand the cultural context for content on Facebook and to adjust our content policies as appropriate. It was in this spirit that we hosted a roundtable on Indigenous culture and content online last spring with Indigenous groups and leaders. We learned a lot about the different needs of Indigenous communities, such as the importance of being able to sell animal products online. We also heard loud and clear from roundtable participants the importance of being able to interface on Facebook in their own Indigenous languages. In response to this feedback, we are partnering with institutions and communities in Nunavut to translate Facebook into Inuktitut for 2019.